up, you guys? So, a couple of days ago, I had expressed that I was going to do a topic on affirmative action just because it's something that I have thought about on multiple occasions. So, this is going to be it. It's designated spot. So, here in the States, there is this thing, or we pretend to have, known as affirmative action. And the intent, of course, is supposed to be to make up for past discrimination by granting stuff like college admissions and jobs to minorities to make up for past discrimination, just like I said. So, of course, it's something that sometimes doesn't really work as intended, and I'm going to try to express some of that, try to express my understanding of it, at least, because of course not every case presents itself in the same manner. But anyways, what gets me about this little practice, I guess, is that it tends to give opportunities to people just based on what they look like or where they come from or what they sound like, or I don't even know. But sometimes people who clearly have better merit and are better prepared for something, they get rejected in place for someone that will bring so-called diversity to a team or a staff, stuff like that. However, if being affirmative toward a group of people is fulfilled while rejecting others, isn't that a form of discrimination itself? Because, say, if you actually give a group of people preferential treatment, and of course, preferential treatment means that a group of people that does not fit the mold have to be turned down for no reason other than you don't fit the club, then isn't that a form of discrimination? Isn't that perpetuating the problem? But anyways, but because of that, that's why I feel like affirmative action perpetuates the cycle of discrimination, because we are using something to be a determining factor for giving something to someone, which I would think we are trying to get rid of that, get rid of unfair practices. But then again, affirmative action itself sounds like an unfair practice. But at the same time, when I think about it from the historical content context, of course, I know that there are groups of people who deserve compensation and reparations and whatnot. But I mean, what can I say? How long does this need to go for? Because sometimes I try to think of myself, if I were not part of the minority that could probably benefit from that, and I want to obtain, say, a job. Let's pick the modeling industry for example. We all keep seeing the image of more diverse more diversity. So that usually means, to put it in simple terms, not showing as many white people, because clearly they're the majority. They always have been. So now the image is trying to push for other images, which that's perfectly fine. I mean, there is beauty everywhere, and I am glad that it's being promoted now. But let's say that I happened to be a 100% white model, and I'm trying to be a model for a commercial. But then they say, you know what? We're not going to give you the job. And I am perfectly fine for the role. I am young, I am in shape, I'm good looking. That's why I'm a model. I'm good looking. I'm going to make it. But because I am not foreign enough, or maybe like dark enough or something, I'm going to be rejected from that job. So I was born in this time period. Why do I need to be penalized for stuff that happened in the past when I had nothing to do with that stuff. Like, I get that the opportunities that are being given to the new generation, the past generations did not have, but it doesn't mean that I already have my life figured out. If I had my life figured out, I would not need to be working. So sometimes I feel like affirmative action would hurt me if that was my situation, because it's like I know that I have the privilege already, but at the same time, when you are getting started, you need opportunities. And I feel like with the current agenda that's pushing for a specific image, I am going to suffer. See what I mean? So again, I know that there are groups of people who deserve to be compensated, they deserve opportunities and whatnot. But if it's going to be at the expense of other people not getting something, then is that really progress? Can we really call that progress? Or do we have to call that unfairness for a specific group for a specific period of time until we feel like affirmative action has satisfied some groups enough to where we can sort of reset? Does that make sense? So, but anyways, if you were to ask me, do I agree with affirmative action? I mean, because it definitely would benefit me, I want to be like, oh yeah, affirmative action is awesome. But when I think about it in the grand scheme of things and the people who actually get affected by it, who don't deserve to be affected by it, then I want to say no. We need to amend it to be a little more effective, because we're just affirming some people that because of what you look like, you will have certain opportunities and privileges, but at the same time, other people, we're like, you happen to be from the cool group of people, so no, you deserve to struggle now. Like, what? Does that make sense? Anyways, let me see what you guys are saying. But I thought I would put that out there. Garuda says, hi, hello. Affirmative action is well intentioned. People have been and often still are denied opportunities they qualify for discriminatory reasons, but there needs to be more than just inverting that. Unfortunately, it's also an image thing. Companies want to look forward thinking and progressive, and sometimes that means what some call positive discrimination, which is unfortunate. Yeah, like, I guess we can call that the so-called liberal agenda that we keep hearing so much about. I think eventually, when representation is more equal, this will calm down some, but this, I think, is part of a growing pain of trying to balance a society that has been unbalanced for so long. See, that's a very good point. That's exactly what I think about. So, how long does this need to go to bring balance back to the force or to society? If I were to propose a solution, I'm not sure, but I would say, of course, only give it to people who have merits. But the problem with saying limiting it to just that is that there are people who, of course, grow up with hardships. So, say if there's someone who can get an education opportunity who has their options limited, then I would hope that they can help this person increase their odds of becoming successful at something or working toward becoming successful and accomplished. But at the same time, why does someone who has merit have to give that up? See what I mean? So I don't know. I'm not sure what to think on this one, really. I'm kind of divided on this matter, and I don't like to be divided on matters like this because it's important to have this sorted, because it's not acceptable to be sort of right. I like to have a definitive answer on something. But for this one, because I know how to counter both sides of the coin, that's why it kind of feels complicated to me. Hi, John. I see you. So, to give you a summary, John, since you just arrived, I was saying I pretty much defined in my own words what affirmative action is, which is pretty much giving opportunities to groups of people who had like struggles in the past and trying to make up for past discrimination. And then the positive aspects of it that I think are, okay, what I think are the positive aspects of it, which is like stuff like, well, at least you give more opportunities to folks who in the past they had their hardships, but at the same time I was also bringing up the unfair aspect of it in my eyes, which is someone who absolutely had nothing to do with past events, say a young person trying to go for some kind of career, they get turned down just because of their birth luck or unluck thereof of being born with a certain skin color that makes them be not what they're looking for these days to be their representation. And the example that I used was if I were fully white and I was trying to be a model and they prefer someone else, even though I could perfectly model whatever product, someone else gets chosen just because of my appearance, and therefore that makes me fall behind and have trouble establishing myself in the present because now I am actually the one being discriminated against when I was not consulted prior to conception how I wanted to look like before I was born. See what I mean? So I was pretty much saying that on the issue or the matter of affirmative action, I don't know what side to be on. Do I support it? Do I think it's right? Or do I think it brings sets of challenges that aren't really worth it? And on top of that, how long does this need to go on before the so called fairness for the damage of the past is achieved? A meritocracy would be desirable, but unfortunately, that's only fair if everyone starts with the same resources and opportunities. Exactly, which obviously will never be the case. It's a tricky situation. Yeah, because the thing of it is that a lot of these things, if you have the money, you can just buy it. You can afford to go to school, you can afford to maybe even flunk many times, and you still can go back to school and eventually make it when you feel like it. I know that's not really how stuff happens in real life, but just to like bring up a point. And then also you are more likely to have connections too. So how many of us haven't experienced the privilege of you knew just the right person from the right place that was able to sort of involve you in something so that you can get ahead of the line? Like some places, when you fill out an application, they say, did someone refer you? Did someone recommend you? Usually, what happens to those applicants is that they are given priority. So, you have to be lucky to just know the right person in the right place, and then you can enjoy that privilege. But not everyone is like that. What if you move around a lot and no one knows you where you're moving to? You know, so I think that's the problem mom and I were having when we tried to move to Kansas. It's like no one knew us. So there was a lot of people applying for stuff, and because nobody knew us, we were not standing out. And it was taking a while for us to be called back and considered for anything. See what I mean? But anyways, um however, the WAKE does not equality means guaranteed equal opportunity, not equal outcome. My family came to America speaking no English, etc., yet working very hard, we became successful. Definitely, effort does. You are more likely to make it if you put in effort than not put effort. See what I mean? But also, there's the systems in place, which is, if you happen to be foreigner and obviously you're going to be struggling more, so we're going to give you preferential treatment for X or Y reason. See, it's It's tricky. It's tricky. On what side you should be on, I think it should really be case by case. If you suspect you're being favored for your status as a minority, just exercise judgment, weigh the pros and cons, etc. Some segments of American society are addicted to outrage. Everyone owes it to themselves to make themselves more valuable to society. I was going to say the wake does not drive the boat. Oh, definitely 90% of life is showing up, not trying is failing by default, meaning the past does not have a bearing on the present. Exactly, that's what I would think. But of course, we are all focusing on how can I put this? The rate of success of some groups of people is definitely perceivable that they are not advancing as quick as they should. So is that due to that group of people being more often than not just making poor decisions or just lacking the knowledge of what to do with their resources to become successful, or is that the result of the system not working in favor of them? You know what I mean? Like, let's say the folks who are at the bottom of society, the bottom of the hierarchy, are they at the bottom solely because it's their fault, or are they at the bottom because truly the system works against them? No one is thinking about them. No one is trying to help them. No one is supplying to them. No one is supporting them. So I guess that's what we should look into. But I want to say, just like they say, disasters are a chain of events. So if if you're experiencing that hardship, I'm pretty sure that some of it is your responsibility. But of course, there's always more than one cause for something to go really wrong, really bad. See what I mean? Um, if people made the same effort to educate themselves as they put into complaining, they would be so much further ahead. That is so true. I feel like a lot of people just spend so much time whining and complaining about the stuff that they would like to have that they don't have, and how further ahead they would like to be, but they just aren't. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing to get there again? What have you done to make your situation better again? If you're at home playing video games, that's not going to happen. If you are not sending out any applications, no one is going to find you. Um, it's kind of like a YouTube channel. If you don't put out content, no one is going to find you. So sometimes I see people in other channels comments saying that it's really tough to get noticed or something, and then I click on their channel and they have fucking nothing. And I'm like, of course no one is going to see you because you're not working on this. You have to put content out. So in life, if you want more money, you just gotta work more, especially if you don't have the privilege of having a degree that's going to enable you to get a job in a field that actually pays you really well. But if you get a degree in something that's not very profitable, then you need to reevaluate your life. See what I mean? So if you're going to not have a lot of money, at least be witty with it. Because, for me personally, I know I struggle sometimes and I'm like, oh boy, what do I do? But I just believe in myself. It's like, at least I know that I'm not alone. I got plenty of support, but I'm not going to completely depend on the support that I get. I use that as a reinforcement, and then I make sure to get back to them. But see what I mean? I'm not sitting here not having my priorities straight. At least all of my bills are paid, and everything else, it arrives to me in the form of blessings, and those blessings are the folks who support me. But if you're constantly just being reckless, then I think that's your fault. And if you're in a bad situation in life, you asked for it. So I just want people to be more responsible. Let's see. An unfortunate amount of success comes down to luck. I know no one wants to admit this, but while the effort is vital, knowing the right people at the right time will do more for you than effort will. That's true. That's true. In a lot of instances, there's no need to deny it. I would still encourage everyone to, no matter what, put in the effort. But I guess when it comes to just putting effort, there are smarter ways to put effort. If you know that something requires a lot of attention, a lot of dedication, a lot of time, then you cannot be completely dependent upon that for your livelihood. You will need to make some sacrifices. It's like, how can I better put this into words? Let's say that my dream were to become a big star here on YouTube, like some people have been able to. Well, I cannot just sit here and make videos away and depend on my ad revenue for my source of income when I know that it doesn't work like that. There is no way that I could survive on getting paid a little over $100 once every 5-ish months, whenever it is that I accrue all that money. So, of course, I cannot just not have a job, live with someone, be expensive, be an expense to them, and then just because I'm making videos to try to become a star. Because what if I don't become a star? What if I never get a good audience, enough attention or something like that? So I feel like for the people who have degrees, sometimes you let your pride get in your way and you're like, oh, I got a degree to be an engineer. There's no way that I'm going to accept doing anything else but be an engineer. I'm like, no, you cannot afford to be picky on your livelihood. You need to at least make money. Where you make money doesn't have to be where you're at permanently. It should supplement you for the time being. But if you just wait for your big break because you're supposed to be an engineer and you refuse to do something a little more basic in the meantime, that's your pride getting in the way. And if you are broke out of college because you're waiting for your job as a engineer, then that's on you. So I think that's not wise. So with effort, that's what I'm trying to convey with there are smart ways of putting in the effort, whereas there are ways in which you can be completely doing more harm than good to yourself. So if I were going to school, I would definitely still be working. But because I was never really sure that school was the right thing for me, that's why I didn't pursue it like that. Because I would be putting in too much effort and then, okay, I'm going to school, but I have not defined what it is that I truly want to do. So I felt like while I am thinking about that, let me put in my effort at my current job and get promoted to where I can get paid decently, but know that I still have goals that I want to fulfill. But I try to not waste time when I do have time off. I like to read, I like to design something, I like to draw, I like to meet people, but I try to not waste that time. And I think a way to waste time is by being uberly distracted. Say, playing video games or just watching too much entertainment. You know, we have so much entertainment. And I feel like that's where people waste their time, and that's what keeps them from progressing even farther or faster. Everything we do is a matter of choice. Do you spend $3,000 on rims or do you take a night course? With that said, connections and luck will get you to the top, but they won't keep you there. That's when it comes down to you. Anyone in this country who really wants to be successful can be. It is strictly a matter of choice. That's true because there are some folks who used to work where I work at and they were taking classes and they ended up turning their hobby into their source of income. For instance, there was this person who used to take pottery classes at night and now that's the way she makes money. She makes all kinds of stuff and she sells that stuff. And that's how she actually makes her livelihood now. So, so yeah, you're right. It's for some people, unfortunately, it'll take an insane amount of more effort than for other people. But if you really believe in yourself and you know what your goals are, that's not going to intimidate you and keep you from fulfilling things. So before you scream unfairness and oppression and lack of opportunities, what are you doing? Are you really doing your best? Are you really working to your full potential to put yourself in a better position in life? See what I mean? Because let's face it, there's people who have had it much worse. And I don't like to say that. I don't like to say, oh, and just remember that people in other places have it worse than you, because to me that sounds like you're invalidating the person's feelings. But if there's people who have come from rock bottom and they have made it, and you have a little bit of something, the odds are for you, not against you. So, but I don't know. Everyone's life is so different. But it's fun to just speculate. As one with a degree, that this or nothing attitude annoys me. You're not owed a living just because you have an expensive certificate. No one is too good to start at the bottom. Don't agree with you, Ollie, on knowing the right people at the right time. Rather, I believe in the phrase, if it's to be, it's up to me. I work two, sometimes three jobs, save my money, etc. You're very right. I wasn't trying to discount hard graft. There really is no substitute, but too many people get a pass on connections, in my opinion. Yeah, that's true. Look at politics. I would say politics is definitely the one place where we can perceive that very easily. But then again, it's one of those fields that I'm just not very familiar on, so I would pretty much be saying that kind of emptily. But there's they call that the privilege. When you have a connection that's really good, you get certain privileges. We can't deny that. Yes, I agree with that idea. All right. Well, guys, that was pretty much it. The opinion that I wanted to put out there, and then read what you guys had to say on it. Oh, don't get me started on politics, the one line of work in the world where incompetence is excused. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who you would talk about when it comes to that matter, but feel free to do so. Feel free. Let's see. Is there something else that I want to say? Um, Now, if you wonder if I have experienced affirmative action personally, sometimes I want to believe that I got my job because of affirmative action, because I was a teenager. I am clearly a minority. And I also had some language skills going on for me that I mentioned in my resume. And they said, oh, that's really cool that you can speak a couple of languages. So I want to say that, yeah, I was giving a preferential treatment. And I'm also a woman. So there are some departments at my job that it's a whole army of women. And I'm like, what? So I'll have to look into that because I think it's pretty bizarre, but maybe it's that manager's preference. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but it is true that that team used to have a lot of men, but now it's a lot of girls, and I know that there's a lot of men who have been applying for those positions. So why are there men not being hired? We should look into that because it's suspicious indeed. But sometimes I do believe that I was hired based on affirmative action because I seem to fit in. And honestly, when I look at myself and I compare myself to the rest of the team, there is a pattern. And some folks in the team kind of resemble me, as in we are women, we are young, and some of us are fresh out of school, fresh out of college, and others have children, but they're not going to school. There seems to be a pattern going on. So, yeah, that may be worth looking into. But maybe it could just be coincidental. I don't want to throw shade at anybody, but you can't help but wonder. It's a pattern. It's definitely a pattern. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Can't think of anything else to add. If anyone has anything else, feel free to chime in, but I can't think of anything else. Let's see. Amen. Greetings, zombie. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm gonna call it a night here, and I'll be sure to not be a stranger to the channel. it's I looked at my schedule ahead of time, and it promises to keep me busy. So don't worry if you don't see me around as often. And if you do see me often, if I don't stick around for too long, it probably means I need to be up early. And speaking of being up early, you guys, that extra hour made all the difference in the world. Because I was up 2 hours before I had to go in this morning. And usually I only give myself a 1 hour window, and I did not yawn all day at all. I feel fully energized. I mean, I feel fully rested. And I also woke up in the middle of the night because that's become the norm lately. But it did not feel like it at all. So yeah, that's exciting. Nights are longer and colder and more boring. But but anyways, thought that I might put that out there. Tell me some of your experiences with daylight savings time, the benefits and the disadvantages, I guess. All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.